Hey everybody, how are we doing tonight? Welcome to tonight's lecture. Today we are going to be doing our study session to Brandon Sanderson's lecture number 2. If I pull it up, I can tell you exactly what the title of it is.
Promise, progress, and payoff.
Oh yeah, I like this one. Promise, progress, and payout. Nice.
Should be the
Okay.
first plotting one.
Yes. So we did do his introduction lecture last week. We're going to, the way that this is going to work is first Loki's going to start grumbling at the neighbor dogs. All the dogs in the neighborhood have decided that they're going to bark at something at the same time. So the way that this is going to work is we are going to have a countdown timer up on the screen, okay? The countdown timer is going to be the minute marker for where we are at in the lecture. You will need to be able to play Brandon Sanderson's lecture on a separate screen. If you can't play multiple things, go ahead and start watching the lecture when we hit play and the timer goes. You can cut us off, and then at the end of the lecture, you can come back and join us for the discussion period. So we're going to go straight through. The lecture is pinned in the comments. Did I get everything? I feel like that went way too smoothly.
I mean, it sounds like everything.
Yeah,
I feel like we got everything. All right, so you can read the little ticker down at the bottom. Hopefully, as people come in, they will be able. They'll catch that. It's also in the description. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask questions in about what we're doing. Feel free to ask questions in the comment section. Also, feel free to take notes in the comment section because that was one of the fun things that I loved last week. I did have a little bit of trouble taking notes in both my notebook and on the chat comments because I didn't want to miss things. And then sometimes you're just sitting there listening and you're like, oh, that would have been a good note.
Yeah.
But the good thing about having the notes in the comments is because you also get your friends' notes. So I was like totally piggybacking off of some of Esther's notes. I was like, oh, that's a good note, Esther. Let me write that one down. So like a study session, that's one of the good things is that we all can take notes, and any notes that you want to share with the group, you can put those notes in the comments, and then we can all copy them or come back to them and get them later. And anybody who's watching on the replay can also get them, get our notes and our thoughts as we think them and write them down, which is really cool. So I really enjoyed this last week, so I'm looking forward to doing this. So moving forward, we are going to do these every other Monday. However, next month, Esther and I both have something at the same time, so we're not going to put the burden on Becca and Chandra to do it by themselves. So we will skip that one. And so in order for us to plan out the rest of our summer, we're just going to stay on the track of every other Monday. So if we have to miss one, we miss that one. Okay. But that way you can mark out this Monday, we're skipping the next Monday. So it'll be the following Monday in May. So on and on and on. Anyone that's missed is just a missed, but we will do the next lecture. We're not going to skip any of the lectures.
Yeah.
So we will have one lecture in May, but when we come back in June, it will be lecture number 4. So just because we're not going to have that second lecture for us in May, we're still the next lecture we do in June will be.
Which is that going to be the 26th then we're going to be doing instead of the 12th or?
Yeah, I am the one who's not available on the 26th. I don't know if that's exactly when
that is
not available.
That is roughly the time.
Okay.
I've got things happening.
Okay, so we're going
things
to be
are happening
on the 12th and not the 26th.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll be here the 12th. We're going to miss the 26th.
Okay.
But we will be back, I believe, on the 9th and then the 23rd and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So if a Monday happens to come up on a holiday, we might skip that one, but then we'll just keep on rocking with the every other, because I haven't gone past June to see
Right.
what's coming up. But that's how it's gonna roll until we finish all the lectures, and then who knows if there's something else we wanna study, we might do that too afterwards. But we're gonna.
Also, isn't it May? When is Mother's Day? May?
Mother's
Is it
Day
May?
is in May. I think it's the 8th this time.
That sounds
Maybe,
right.
perhaps.
I don't know.
It's the
Because I
It's on
think it's
the
always the
week of the
2nd
12th.
Sunday.
It says the
It's
11th.
on the
Oh,
11th.
I'm in June. I'm looking at June. You're right. So it's the 11th, I believe, because it's usually the 2nd Sunday.
Yeah, it's the 11th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we should put an asterisk on the 12th just in case families around want to do something on the Monday and not the Sunday. Or if
Yeah.
things trickle. Because,
Yes.
of course, you're not going to say no to celebrate your freaking day for a lecture. Bredesen can wait.
I don't know. It's like,
Becca, your mom's kind of nice. We think we like her.
that which is why she's all like, "You better come to my house on Sunday."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me too. I'm like, Sunday is official Mother's Day.
There you
I
go.
better see children. Unless the child is in labor, then you're excused.
No,
And I
no
will-
substitutions.
Exactly.
So that is the plan, guys. It'll be every other Monday. We are planning for only one to be in this May, though. And I think that's it. So, guys, go ahead, everybody, get your lecture pulled up. I am actually I can't click the link from there. So of course I can't. So I'm gonna type in because I have the timer and stuff pulled up, and
Do you want me to give you the link on the private chat?
No, I already got it. If I type in BR, then my YouTube knows what I'm looking for. It's sad. My YouTube knows. Oh, you want this guy? It's like, yeah. Okay. So did I already watch that one too? That's okay. I watched like 3 of them by accident. They come on because, I get the autoplay. You're watching one thing, and then the next thing you know, you're listening to Brandon Sanderson. It's like, oh, that's the lecture.
It can
Well,
happen
it's
to anybody.
playing. I mean, I'm not going to stop it.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know.
It's a little interesting. All right. So, everybody has it ready? I'm going to pop the timer up now. And I think I'm going to put us across the bottom. So we're like grabbing a seat. Everybody grab a seat. We're all in class. I don't have my notebook out, though. Let me grab my notebook. Not that one. There we go. That's the one I want. The world building notebook. All right. So everybody has their notes.
I like that you have a specific notebook for this.
Yeah, it's got like a map of the world. It's really kind of cool looking.
Ooh, that is
It's a pretty color. So the map is in gold. So yeah, so nice. I like it. It's pretty. It's already tabbed up too. So I gotta get to the right spot. All right. So if everybody is ready, everybody has their lecture pulled up. We're going to go ahead and get started. We will be on mute, but if anybody, again, any questions about something not working or you can't see something or whatever, just post it in the comments and I'll be sure to kind of keep an eye on it.
Yeah. I'll be off camera, but I'll be here. Yeah,
I might go off camera too. My kid might walk in. She likes to grab my snacks from over there. So I might pop off camera for a minute or two. All right, here we go. I'm muting and starting now. All right. Has everybody finished the lecture? I'm going to give everybody a few more seconds just in case we're good. All right. Woo, I'm going to stretch. All right. Has everybody and I can hear myself. Hold on. Give everybody a few more seconds.
I was like, what?
I don't know where I'm at.
Deja vu.
Oh, and I can hear. All right. Okay, I think I found it. Okay, yeah, because I can't do everything in StreamYard, so I always have to pull up a chat, and I never remember where it's at. All right, so okay, what did we think? How was the lecture?
That was really good. I like the whole big P little P thing for sure.
Yeah.
Although he butchered the while you were sleeping description. I'm all like,
oh my gosh, it was so
car accident? Are you kidding me? It was a freaking train. Like, all right, whatever. I'm just getting over it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
thought
maybe
that. I
it's
was
been
like-
a while since he's seen it.
I know.
So I'm like,
I
how do
was
you
like,
not remember?
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was a train. I'm glad
Yeah,
you
like
said
she literally
something.
pulled him off the tracks,
You
and
can
she
take-
didn't say she was his
can take up
girlfriend.
the
She said his
timer.
fiance. I'm all like, all right, whatever. I gotta let it go.
I'm with you. I was confused. I was like, wow, I really need to watch that again because I don't
I'm like,
remember that.
We're like,
last time I
no,
looked,
he's
I
doing it
think there's
wrong.
I think there's even like a train on like the cover.
Yeah, it's literally like that's the thing
Is
of
it?
him on the train, and like, yeah,
Yeah, the train was a big deal. Okay,
I
but
was nervous.
well, that's funny. But yeah, it's probably been a minute.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he spitballs so many different exames for each thing that he's talking about.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I
He got
can't
the
even.
main points.
he
So
he did, but he gaslit us there for a second.
I was like, wait,
like,
what?
mm-mm.
Wait, was it a car? I don't think so.
Car accident.
I was like,
Yeah.
I think he's confusing his transportation.
But it's an excellent example.
Yes.
And
yes.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
great. It's a great
It was
movie.
a really good example. Yeah.
So I took a lot more notes this time than I did last time.
Took less.
Okay.
But there was a couple of things where I'm like, where are you, sir? And then I got a little confused at the end because, I mean, I know he ran out of time because he does ramble a little bit and he goes on
Mhm.
tangents.
Yeah.
And we love the journey. We love the journey, but there was like, he didn't really, for me, I wasn't super clear on twists, obstacles, escalations, and red herrings. And I know that he just kind of threw red herrings out there at the end, which actually, if you think about it, it's kind of how they work, but I would have
Yeah.
liked to have a little more explanation of the execution around twist, obstacles, and escalation.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if I go back and watch some of the previous, because I did notice I did the thing that I do. Esther knows I'll do this. I'll do a time check because I'm like, wait a minute, how much time do we have left? He has not gotten to the last point yet. So I mentally I knew he was just gonna hit the
Yeah.
last point and
I thought
that was going to be it because I think he's got another class or he's got a study session or something after. So they kind of like they have a little bit of a hard cutoff. So I was like, I knew that last point was going to get a little truncated, but he does have these lectures. I think this is probably like what the 6th or I don't know how many he's had. I've seen several but they are floating around. So you can probably go find this lesson and
get more payoff.
Check out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
I feel like he felt when he answered the question, he kind of like got at least everything that he needed to explain for payoff in the question. I mean, to me, especially the example of promising a car, but throughout the story, making the reader want a plane.
Yeah, that was a good example.
And then giving them a plane, that's the twist. Because you promised a car, but you gave a plane.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then
that's
like,
the
if
twist.
you do
And it's
that,
not, as a reader, you don't feel betrayed because throughout the story, you were like, oh, planes are like really nice.
better than a car.
I wish we would have promised a plane instead of a car.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
think
that's
he
part of the
did
reason why
explain
that
that
example was so
part
good.
better.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's part of the reason why that example of the while you were sleeping was such a good example,
That's a great
because it
example.
is the car versus plane. The car would be great. Like when we start out, we want her with this guy. We're like,
He
oh,
seems so
she's
sweet,
like
and you're like, oh,
him, and
okay,
he
yeah.
seems like a nice guy, and she's kind of crushing on him, and she's so shy, and then everything happens, and like literally, you're like, no. Partway through, you start to feel like, oh gosh.
I want the
Especially
other
What
one.
if he wakes up and she ends up with him? But we're kind of like digging the brother now. And literally, you want the other thing now.
So if you wanna, this is something K-dramas are notorious for breaking watchers' heart, because they promise you the car, they make you fall in love with the plane, but they stick to give you the car. And it's like, there's an entire thing, there's an entire phrase of second male syndrome, because legit, people will fall for the second male, and at this point, everyone knows that's not gonna happen.
Oh.
Because they're notorious of like, we're gonna give you the car, but also look at this wonderful plane. It's fantastic. It's everything you want to, but you're gonna get the car because that's what we promised.
I feel like Louisa May Alcott did the exact opposite. For me, when you see Lori and Joe growing up together, you want Lori and Joe. You definitely don't want Lori to end up with Amy. So I feel like Louisa May Alcott, she did that. She's like, but look at the plane over here. And you're like, well, I don't want the plane. I don't want the plane.
No, thank you.
Give me the old car.
That's true.
I also felt like, though, this is a sidebar, but I also felt like what was delivered was like he didn't accept her. It was like, let me like grow you, help you develop into something different. And I was like,
we don't like it, Louisa. I get what you're trying to say, Louisa, but we're not. We don't want it.
Culturally appropriate now.
I do agree with you that I would love more complication and escalations explanation to give the Asians going. Because, I mean, I sort of know, but it would be great to get a lot of examples to like reassure that I know.
So obstacle is really complication, or is escalation complication?
I don't know.
That's where I got confused, because I needed a straight line. Like when you said promise one thing and then like you update the promise and deliver the new promise, I understand that as far as a twist. But
so I think this is what I think. I think obstacles are something that belongs in progress that affects complication and escalations. Because you definitely, if you have a obstacle, it's gonna draw a wrench in your story. But depending on what wrench you're trying, then you're gonna see if you have a complication of the story or an escalation of it. I'm trying to think of examples, but I am not Brandon Sanderson. I cannot.
I know he can just pop them all off. He's so good with all of his references.
So I made a note. I was cracking up when he was talking about killing your darlings and how like tell yourself that you're gonna find a better place for this. And I feel like Esther and Becca, that you were both talking about this last time and how a lot of those things you've dismantled and incorporated in your stories in other places. So I thought that was funny that that came up last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like this is true because I often have so many subplots and things going on. I'm like, I have to go through and take out all the things that don't matter. And I'm like, but I love this. On some occasions, I can find it. Sometimes it becomes its own story, but it goes into this giant list of potential stories that I have. Do I ever actually go back to them?
I know.
You know,
Sometimes, years can go by.
sometimes,
Like,
sometimes.
oh, okay. Oh, what wasn't that? Da, 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 da. And then you're like, oh my God, that'll work perfectly for,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But probably not as often as
No.
but I feel like I don't wanna, I can't just delete it.
I can't delete it.
I can't.
I
I'm just gonna put it over here. Just gonna
Yeah.
put it over here. I might use it again one day. A lot of times there's just so many. That's literally the problem. I wish I could write everything that I wanted to write. There's never gonna be enough time.
No. I
So
Just
they
know I
just
would be so annoying in this class though, because I'm like listening to what y'all are saying and I'm like putting two and two together, and I look back at my notes and I realize under progress he said complication, escalation, and twist. And then he later switched over to obstacle, escalation, twist, and red herring. And I have notes for both, and I'm like, so which one is which? And I can just see like my younger self in class asking these clarifying questions,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the teacher or professor being like, "Can you just shut your face though?"
No.
no.
I mean, I
Um,
wonder if they're gonna get asked, because he does have a Q&A for the plotting section of the lectures, and it is an hour and 15 minutes long.
Oh.
So
Laura said the change of terminologies twist.
It is a twist.
It got
Yeah.
me. I'm still over here like, what's the answer? The other note that sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
it's that
that
meme where they like both.
Yeah.
it's very much like, it feels a little bit like that meme when like there's a circle of Spider-Mans just pointing at each
They're all-
other. Feels
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that.
The other note that I made was looking at the examples. I know a common piece of writing advice is like, if you want to be a writer, then you have to read. And I was just thinking about how many different examples he uses and why he chooses the examples that he's using. Because I know
Mhm.
before there were some controversial figures, even that we had mentioned in the chat afterwards last time. And I was just realizing he's picking the most widely read,
Mm-hmm.
the stories that people are most familiar with, which is why he's using examples from both movies and books to make sure
Mhm.
that the general audience will have read at least most of the examples that he's using so that he can teach effectively rather than like, sorting through, because there are probably a lot of better examples. There's probably a lot of stuff that he's read that's more specific,
Yeah.
but it's
Probably.
like, what has the majority of the class already read or watched
That's what I
that
was
he can
Or
about.
have at least heard of and know about.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, oh man, he's bringing up JK again. But then I was all like, yeah, he's probably doing. I was thinking that too. I was like,
Because we all know that.
so many people have read it.
Yeah, we're Gen X, we know
Yeah.
it. You guys are millennials, you know it. Gen Z, they know it. So we all know
Yeah.
it. Honestly, it's the perfect
Same thing
reference.
with
Lord of the
bringing
Rings, perfect.
Star Wars and Lord
Mhm.
of the Rings. Like, people might think, oh my god, he's using the same examples over and over and over. But at the end of it, they're the most widely watched and read. They are staples of our popular culture, whether we like it or not.
Mhm.
And they are also very similar plots. All of the
Yeah.
examples are like very similar plot. Chosen one,
Mhm.
journey to save the universe or the world or whatever, or a school. Like it's that is the thing that I did enjoy that he mentioned is like plot is something that you don't have to innovate because actually readers, whether they say it or not, we as readers want to read very similar things over
Yeah.
and over and over again because we want to experience the same highs and lows over and over and over again. We
Yep.
just want to be in a different setting and on a different head.
And
No
be
pun
able to
intended.
attain that same feeling that we get when the
Exactly.
things that we hope we know it's going to happen, when the things that we hope are going to happen, or very disappointed when we expect something to happen and they're like, wait a minute, you mean she's not going to end up with the guy in the coma or the brother? What?
I know, that would be like,
Make
Yeah.
us rage, you know.
So
Don't do that.
now
Don't do
that you
that.
say that, though, I can actually draw a comparison. What he was talking about, where he mentioned, first of all, I did chuckle because there was a person at the front of the class who was vigorously disagreeing when he mentioned it ends
oh
with
my
us being a
God.
romance, not a romance. And they were like,
They were like, oh my God,
absolutely not.
I was like, whoa, okay.
But if you think about it, it is also the same as while you were sleeping, because we start out with this initial romance. We get to the point of being like, oh, I hope they end up together. We go on to the plane, what looks like the plane. We find out the plane is actually a trash can fire, and now we're back to square one and being like, oh, please let it be the car
Yeah.
because the plane is going down.
Yeah. The plane is
Yeah.
bad. The plane
So I
is
thought,
on fire. It's
yeah,
full of garbage and on fire.
I mean, isn't that sort of the Mr. Darcy kind of thing? Like she's like, at first, they go to the party, he's supposed to be like the catch, then she finds out he's a jerk, but then it goes for the guy that seems to be the airplane, the general guy or whatever, soldier.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then but then he's like the worst kind of plane ever, and then she goes back to the car, which is Mr. Darcy.
yeah,
Works,
yeah,
playing car.
yeah. Like, how
But
do you make the
also the whole time you find another person who could be Colonel Fitzwilliam, you're like, you guys would be perfect. And he's honest and says, I can't marry you because I need to marry someone with money.
Right.
That's
And he's
true.
very honest. And you're like,
And then
darn, you
there's
guys would have been
also
great together. But
and then
at
there's
least y'all are very
also
honest with each other.
the excellent potatoes guy.
Aw.
So we have a little bit of everything. We have like the car.
Yeah.
We have
Motorcycle.
the plane. Yeah, we have the absolutely whatever that is, not it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good to have those different examples so you can kind of see the trend of what the up and the down looks like. Where he was talking about the red marks being, this is a spot where someone might decide to put the book down. How do you remove everything that's not necessary, but keep the ones that really strengthen the story, and let those be the thing that make the story stand out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it can be hard sometimes, but I think, Becca, you were talking about something very similar last week when you talked about your book that you had a friend beta read, and they told you that the thing that you really loved in the story, it was not necessary. And so I think about that sometimes, and I thought about it in this, like,
Me too.
you could cut all those words and the story is going to be just as good, maybe even better. And you're like, but I love this
like
thing.
literally it was exactly what he said, where you start to fall in love with these side characters and start building this entire plot for them, and then you're not even realizing that now your actual main plot is like the side plot, and you've just like ignored it. And like, yeah, that was exactly what happened. And it was like I had to take out and then just again save it for some other story. and
But
bring out the main plot again.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good note to evaluate at that point in time. Is this worth rewriting X number of chapters for? Or does it make more sense to come back to the beginning, rewrite it, and make sure what I'm promising is
Yeah.
the car,
Yes.
if I'm going to end up giving them the plane,
Yeah.
or, just updating that promise to match the story, the payoff.
Yeah. I think
I love that he
talked about-
mentions this is the second time in a row that he keeps mentioning you need to finish the book if you get stuck on the first chapters. He literally says like it's easier to rewrite the first 3 than being stuck there and then having to rewrite the middle,
the
which
entire thing.
might be 15 to 20 to 30 chapters, depending how
40.
long your
Yeah.
book and depending how you structure your chapters. So it's like you can always go back to change things. Just finish the story first, so you know what you can go back to and change.
Yep. That was the
Which
point
I'm
I was
like,
just about to
yes,
make.
keep saying it, keep saying it.
Yeah.
Because
was
people don't
definitely-
believe it.
Yeah, that was right here for me with the
I know.
project that I'm working on right now. Where I've been like just, working with the different POVs and the different like how much detail I need to give, and all of these things that I can see in my head, and just trying to figure out how it all comes together. And I did make a lot of progress on that today, but it was like also hearing this, it's like, yeah, don't worry about it, just keep writing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna have to come back and rewrite probably the first 5 chapters at least, and add a bunch of other stuff in. But I know what I need to add in, and I know where I'm gonna need to rewrite the chapters. So, it just having that encouragement of like, this is normal, it happens all the time. You're a discovery writer, this is your cross to bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he reiterated a point that I've heard him say before, because I've seen the lectures before, that world building is not the most important part.
That was rude.
I was like, what?
I knew Nia was going to be like, no, Brenda, no, you have failed me.
But okay, here's the thing, right? Here's the
It's
thing.
true.
Who world builds more than Sanderson?
I know. If you can say it.
Oh no,
If
Nia!
you can
I
say
legit think Nia world builds more than Brenda. She
No, I
has
do.
planets in
I
her
do have
universe. She has planets, whole civilizations, multiple. Like I am like, you might need to give Brando some tips for world building. I don't think he
No,
knows
I
what
need
he's
help.
doing.
The truth is I need help. But yeah, honestly, okay, so seriously, the sci-fi series that started out as a retelling, the reason why the third part of it I made into a comic is because I have built so much world that that I could never put in the novel. And I'm like, I just need them to go to these places, and I need them to go to these places and for it to make sense. So the only way to do that is to make a comic series where they literally are traveling through these places. Otherwise, I can never put it in a novel, because people would be like, it would be that example where he's like, you say we're going to go here, and then you end up going here. It'd be like, you end up going here, 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 and everybody be like, why are we doing this? So I'm like,
so what you're saying is you need a Star Trek so that the rest of it works.
It's 100%.
Yep.
I
That's
feel like,
exactly
Nia,
what it
you
is.
should treat that world kind of like a D&D, and each book is a campaign.
I told my
Because
family,
you have so much, I am sure that anywhere you go, there's going to be a couple of characters that are begging for a story to be told. So
I told my
it's more
family.
like series and spin-off and all of this.
Yeah, I told my family, I'm like, we don't use the pool table that much. I could turn this into a D&D game with my sci-fi. And my husband looked at me like, what are you even talking about? And my oldest son was like, Yes, do it. My husband's like, I don't
Play.
understand what you mean. What do you mean turn the pool table? And I'm like, turning the pool table into a D&D for my sci-fi.
That would be amazing.
And my
You
son,
do.
my oldest son's like,
And you do, though. Like, iPad me in. I'm there.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
film it too. I want to see. I want to see the process.
I'm like, just
I
put
will do
a
that.
screen so I can play.
Yeah.
I will do
Mhm.
that. I
They're
will do
playing.
that. I have an idea. I have an idea of how I'm gonna make
I
this
love
work.
that.
So I'm like, if I
Yeah.
do it, I will definitely let you guys know. But
I'm
yeah,
only
I'm
playing
like,
one
I did
campaign
too
right now,
much.
so
I'm like, I did too much and I don't know what else to do with this. But I mean, I
Yeah.
love the story. So but yeah, I felt that in my soul. And I feel it every time. He's not the only one who said this as well. I've heard other lectures and other speakers say the same thing. That world building's not the most important thing. Nobody cares about your world building. I'm like, I know. Okay, I know.
Leave me alone.
I know.
you just gave me an idea for one of my other stories that I'm now gonna have to like add in and just is it a separate like spin-off series? Maybe.
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 We're here for it.
Who
We're here for it.
knows? Yeah.
But yeah.
Mhm.
This is one of my favorite lectures. So
Yeah, it was really good.
because
It actually got me inspired. Like I actually kind of wanted to write afterwards. You know what I mean? Where you're like,
Same.
you start to think of all the things like, do I do that? I did do that. Okay, but if I do
Mhm.
that, I'll way off here. And so it was a really good, like practical kind of lecture that you
Yeah.
feel instantly apply it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
did
think
like
this will
the
definitely made me
also
want
progress
to dive in.
section too.
yeah. I think this will actually help me with some of the feedback that I got on another submission for flash fiction.
Nice.
So I
Okay.
think that will be, especially, I'm glad that one person asked the question about scaling.
Right, of the shorts and stuff.
Yes, and that was really helpful because I think in my mind, a lot of times the payoff, I'm like, the payoff here seemed very obvious to me. It's
Yeah.
like in longer form fiction, it's like trust your reader; they're smarter than you think they are. And it seems like with flash fiction, or the shorter it gets, the less you can trust your reader. The more you have to just be like, "Wham! Here's the thing." Just hammer it home.
Okay.
You don't mince words. Don't kind of let them read between the lines. There is that aspect, but
Yep.
I always go back to the story of an hour when it comes to flash fiction. That was the first thing that I read that I was like, I like this. The ending is very ambiguous. And I
Okay.
feel like a lot of people aren't particularly comfortable with flash fiction being that ambiguous. So that's something that I have to bear in mind when I'm writing for a submission versus if I'm writing flash fiction for myself.
Okay.
What do they want from the submission? What are their guidelines? What do they expect to get out of the story? What payoff do they want? Versus if you're writing flash fiction outside of that, you have the liberty to be like, yes, I want you to walk away from this story and not be able to sleep tonight.
Right.
And I like this that you bring up, Chandra, because for long form, we should think about our first draft, however you name it, zero, first, whatever you name it, but that first array of your story, it's for you. You tell your story, that's yours. And then when you go to revise, edit, rewrite, that's when you want to think about, okay, so who's gonna read this? Who am I submitting this to? And that way it's gonna take longer because it's long form, but it is the same mentality that you mentioned with short fiction and flash fiction. Like the first time you write it is for you, and then you can be like, okay, but real scenes. Who am I writing this for? Let's be real.
Yeah.
I already
It's-
have my version. Let's work on the other.
This one's for you.
Yeah.
Yes. I got mine. Now I'm gonna make yours. Hold on.
And I like the notes that he gave on the beginning because I get hung up on this a lot where I feel like my first line, I'm so bad at first lines.
Yes.
I don't have
Eh.
like that zinger that's gonna like if you don't hook them with the first sentence, then you're gonna lose them. Nobody's gonna want to keep reading. And just a reminder that I don't read like that.
Nope.
Like you've got a good several pages to
Mhm.
draw me in. So
Absolutely.
and so to hear him kind of like reinforce that because I feel like we hear that a lot. Like if you don't hook them with the first line or at least the first paragraph,
Listen,
they're gonna put it down. And I'm like, I never do that, but other readers they do that. Oh no. And I will stress about the beginnings. I take a long time for starts. And sometimes I keep my starts as kind of an outline because I'm a heavy outliner. Sometimes I'll just more detail the outline for the start, but then once I get going, I'm going. But I'm like, I don't feel like this is where I should start. I know I need to start here, but it feels like I like it, but I feel like it's going to be boring to other people because it's not. There's no zingers in there, you
Right.
know. So that always kind of like stresses me out. How am I going to start this? And just to hear a little bit of reinforcement that you got some pages before you lose most readers is
Yeah.
kind of like a little bit of a okay, some relief.
I'd also be the exception rather than the rule, but I don't read blurbs.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't care. I look at the cover and I'm like, that's pretty. It looks like I would like that, and then I buy it. And once I bought it, now I have to read it because I spent money on it. I don't,
See, I'm a
blurb.
bigger exception. I look at the book and I legit do this. I look at the book and I turn it around and read the last page. That's how I
You're a
decide
last page
if
reader.
I
Wow.
am the last page reader. Everyone hates me, but I am someone who's like, if I'm not interested about the journey, if you didn't make me curious about the journey, I'm not gonna buy the book. And the first page, it doesn't do that for me.
Okay.
So that's why I go
So
to the last page.
you know the table of like how people hold their coffee mug, and it's like, are you like lawful good, neutral good,
Yeah.
or like chaotic good, and it goes
Yeah.
Yeah,
through,
good.
but you're holding. I feel like there's the one where they're like holding the coffee mug with their hand inside the mug and out. That description of like how you choose a book, that's the mental image that I got of like your hand half
Just
in the
hand
mug.
right in the cup.
Yeah, whenever I saw a table of like lawful good, I'm like, I'm gonna always be in the chaotic row. Depending on what it is, it might be good, it might be neutral, it might be evil. But it's always gonna be in the
Always
chaotic side.
It's chaotic evil, and I'm so sorry.
It works for me. So does it have to work for anyone else?
I feel like, yeah, I'm very maybe lawful evil by just like not caring about anything. Like I know it's a book full of words. I don't want any of your words about it. Do I like your cover?
Right.
I do like a pretty cover. I actually, if I hear someone talking about a book, if it sounds interesting, that a lot of times pretty covers do get me. I've been got by some pretty covers before.
Yeah.
I don't like to be spoiled, so I tend not to read if it's just a quick blurb or someone just, you know how they say, "Oh, this was quick and witty." Da, da, da. But I always get nervous about blurbs because I feel like, "Oh, I feel like you told me too much." But then I think there must be more. Then if this you give me this long thing on the back of the book, I feel like that's a lot to tell me. Did I get spoiled? And I don't like that. So I'm a little when it comes to reading the back, but
So
I
what
have
I
been got
learned
by some pretty covers before.
what I learned about blurb is that they usually should tell you until the inciting incident, the catalyst. That should be the most what they're gonna tell you and be like, and there's more. like use those like salesy, markety sentence to entice you to read more. Sometimes I have read blurbs and I'm like, this feels more like the midpoint, y'all. You're like giving half of the book for free.
Yeah, I feel like
So I think
you're
you need
telling
to
a lot.
revise your blurb.
I read the whole 19 Years Later part and finished and was thinking the whole time, okay, but what happened to
Oh
Harry?
yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever had Harry Potter in trees myself. Oh.
For me, what you said about why I don't like to read blurbs, I don't like it when people market to me or try to sell me stuff. So, like, if I like the picture, if I like the art, is your art compelling enough for me to want to read your book? Then I'll
Okay.
read it. But I don't want to hear your sales pitch because sometimes the blurb doesn't actually match the book either.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Or it
important.
doesn't include the thing that would make me want to read the book, but that doesn't mean it's not a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do though read if someone has written like a crazy thing that happens in the book. There's a book that I've read, I'm not going to say the name of it. It is both vile and disgusting, some of like the most heinous things I have ever read, but I read it because it was like a triple dog dare you where someone said something happened in the book and I'm like, I'm calling it, I don't believe you. Then I read the whole thing and it did in fact happen in the book and I was appalled. Um
Oh Lord.
so like you can get me like that. I'm definitely I'll get got when it's a gag, it's something that's like so wild. Or if someone writes a terrible review and they don't preface it like put it in context. So I just hated this book. The wording was like it was so purple and it was just like da, da, da. But they've not said like that's not wrong with the book. Like purple prose is not a
Yeah.
bad thing. I actually
Yeah.
like purple prose. Sometimes the way that people describe what they hate about a book is what makes me want to read it. So I'm more liable to read something because somebody said something terrible about it than I am because people are like gushing and being like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing ever." I'm like, "All right,
Yeah,
you sales copy self."
I've also been got by a book that people were gushing about, and I was so mad. I was like, this is not it.
Never tell.
See,
Like that's the thing.
because I know myself. I never like. I know some people are like, oh, I have this like booktubers or bookstagrammers or whatever. We have the same taste, and I'm like, lucky you, because I've never, in years of watching content, have I found someone who has the taste exactly as mine that I would buy anything they review. No. I'll just keep doing the insane thing that I do by reading the ending and be like, is this ending worth this journey?
Yeah.
We shall see.
I'm 50-50. There is not a book person either that I've found that I'm like, that's my person. If they read something and they love it, I know I'm gonna no, it's like 50-50, so that's not gonna work. I have things that I like to read. It's just like what we talked about earlier, where we read certain things because we want that same similar I know the things that I like. So if I hear someone talking about a book and they're hitting on things that I like that, I like that, I like that too, that's where I start to like, this is hitting the spots, I might give that one a try. Or if I just even see like on Instagram or whatever, a book being promoted, and it's hits a lot of things. I know some people don't like the little tropey arrow thingies.
Oh, I love it. I was thinking
I'm
about
like,
that
those
because I'm
are
like,
great.
that's just give me a bullet list of what you
Yeah, I'm like,
think
I like
it's
5
awesome
of
about
these
your
6
book,
things. Good.
and I will, and
I'm fine
that
with
will
it.
be the easiest way because I know, like, there's a couple things like already all of my friends are like, oh, this is fake data. I'm like, now, give
Yes,
me.
we like fake dating.
So
I don't need
Okay.
anything
I'm
else.
give it.
for
I'm
me,
cool.
there's one I don't know. This is why I don't feel like, I like to go to influencers to see their reviews after I finish a book, where I feel like, when something there's not a lot of people to talk about the book that I just finished. It's like go to the internet, go to the reviews, all that stuff, so you can see other people's initial response to the thing that I just finished, because I want to talk about it, but I didn't buddy read because I'm terrible at buddy reading. Whatever. But there's a book, 3 books that I have put on the same Goodreads shelf in an effort to try to get Goodreads to recommend me books that are the same vibe. And I feel like if you've read them, you get the vibe, but
Okay.
it's Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and Lolita.
I think that one's on my list too.
And if you've read them all, you'll know what I mean about the vibe, because they're very different stories.
Right.
But there's something about the writing that I love that overlaps, and I have not been able to find more books that have exactly. I think I put a couple other books on the shelf, but they're like, this one's not exactly right, but I'm just hoping it I'm trying to get that same like overlap to find a story like it, because it's something very specific that I haven't been able to put my finger on yet. So I can't even search for it because I'm like, I don't know what the thing is.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's why you look for reviews, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's either the tone or the writing. Not exactly the writing style, but it feels like it's somewhere in the tone of the stories.
Yeah.
Like, most people say, like, the vibe, the aesthetic, is the effing tone, friends. That's what causes the vibe and the aesthetic.
I just read one. Yeah, I just recently read one, and it should have hit all of the things, and it just wasn't the vibe. It just wasn't it. I'm like, it's got the right things though. And okay, so when I watch people, I do their spoiler freeze. Like if they're just like, this is what I read, I always do what I like to do is after I've read it, I kind of like to go back and then see like spoilery stuff to see do they react to the same things that I reacted to. Like, did they catch that, and were they devastated when this thing happened? So that's how I like to do when I watch other book people. And there's one that I'm like, oh, someone was talking about it. I'm like, one person hated it. I'm going to preface it. One person hated it. The other person loved it. But one person loved it, and it had the things. It had vampire. It had like werewolf. It had, fantasies type stuff. Paranormal. I'm like, I'm going to give this. It just wasn't. I was like, I feel like you weren't doomed. No. I felt duped. So I've been duped a couple times, and it's just like one of them said it was like time traveling sci-fi. No. No.
But I feel like if you really liked
the other one,
Vampire Diaries,
vampires and what's that?
I feel like if you said, I really like Vampire Diaries, and someone said, oh, you should read Sookie Stackhouse, that's not the same.
Very different.
They're not. No, it's just vampires.
Yeah, that's the thing that they have in common.
But you got to tell me that. See, I like both of those, but you tell me they're not the same. But if you just want to read some vampires with some whack out stuff that happens, then I'll be like,
it's about tone.
The tone and the writing
style is so different.
It's
totally different.
The tone is very different than Sookie Stackhouse. Also, the age group, it's very different. So the readership is going to be very different. Like if you want something more angsty, a little preppy, dark and mysterious, but not too serious, go to Vampire Diaries. It's a wacky time. It's fun. Now, if you have something more like gritty, naughty, darker, greedier, adult, then go to Sookie. They're both vampires, and they have a lot of things in common as the vampire lore, but they are tonally very different.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
one's
And
YA,
also,
one is not. One is not.
Yeah,
one is
one is
not at
not.
all. Not at all. And same thing I think with like Vampire Academy. It's just completely different from
But
either one of those.
I would recommend Vampire Academy if you like
Yeah.
Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same. It's similar, yeah.
yeah.
So
I
I
will
think that's the
recommend the
one
books.
thing.
I mean, if you want to watch the movie, yeah, go ahead. It's a
Movie,
fun
TV
fun
show,
time.
yes.
Yeah.
Movie,
I think that's the other thing though for me is like with We've Always Lived in the Castle. I read that book twice. I was reading some reviews on it, like a message board where people were talking about it, and someone was like, "Oh, this one character is actually this age," and I was like, "Excuse me."
Oh
I'd
no.
already read the book twice and didn't realize the age of the character. Had to go back and read it a third time and was like mind blown all over again. And I think that might be the thing is how many times can I read this book and still have my mind just completely like what is happening?
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
That's so cool.
So
And I
that
also,
might be like the tone that I'm looking for.
Right.
it's on my list before I read it. How scary is it?
I didn't find it scary at all.
Okay, that's what because I like mystery, I like thriller.
Mhm.
It's more on that vein. I do not like horror. So
Yeah,
I always
it's
get
not.
nervous when I jump in because I'm like, is it
It's
scary?
you are observing the story and as a reader completely aware that you're never in danger.
Okay.
Okay.
So from
Okay.
your perspective, I feel like you know you're never in danger. Um, Bad things have happened, but it's more past without
Okay.
too many spoilers.
Question:
Appreciate
have
that.
you read
Appreciate that.
Mexican Gothic?
That's on my to read list.
Cause I don't know if it's tonally the same, but a lot of people have said that it's one of like the not newer version, but the most recent like true Gothic novels out there.
Mhm.
And I know Gothic is not. It's very rare to find novels with that tone.
I will add
Mm.
it to my to read list then and then follow up because
Yeah. See that if it's at least adjacent, I don't know if it's gonna like really hit on the
Mhm.
spot.
Yeah, but it's like, that's also I feel like part of the fun of books is trying to find the next one that does fit.
Yeah.
And then you're
Yeah.
just like, it's so exciting.
Yeah. It's really hard when you read one that's like very
The
similar
perfect
but
thing for you.
different and so great that you're just like, I'm not gonna find anything like this. And I know I'm not
Yeah.
because I read a lot and this is the first time I found this. There was a story that I still think about to this day, and I'm like, oh, let me read the next book by this same author. And it's just like
Never the same.
not even her own work. But I did enjoy I like Babel was like for me, that's like perfect. Even though I was
That's
devastated. I don't want to spoil it, but Babel was like
See, I haven't.
it had everything, the historical aspect, the fantasy aspect, like and then the
something I
story.
think
Have
that
you
gets
read
I'm just
me.
like,
this one?
I'm not gonna find it.
Have you read this one, Nia?
Which one? No, I don't
This
think.
is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wong.
M.L. Wong.
It says that it's similar to Babel, but it's not like it doesn't focus on linguistic the way that Babel focuses, but everything else that is a Babel, a lot of people say they find it here. And
It's
this is
Blood Over
Blood
Bright what?
Over Bright Haven.
Guys, I'm so sorry, but my goddaughter is here, and we have to have dinner. Like,
all right, let's go ahead and wrap up then, because we have been on long. Yes. We didn't do intros, so let's go ahead and do outros. Becca, you want to go first so that you can dip, and then we'll do our outros.
My name is Becca C. Smith. I was so weird saying the whole thing, but anyway, I'm an author, and I have a channel on YouTube, even though I haven't posted in like 2 months. But hopefully soon. And I'm also a screenwriter. But yeah, and strangely enough, Brandon Sanderson is one of my absolute favorite authors, but I've never watched any of his lectures until us doing this series. So I've been having a great time. So, but anyway.
So glad. All right, thanks, Becca. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye. All right. Did anybody else any final thoughts before and then we'll all do our outros and go ahead and wrap it up, because it is 9:30 Eastern.
That's pretty much it for me. I did take like 4 pages of notes this time, and as Becca said, I'm super motivated to write. So
yes,
this is a good one.
Same. This has literally got me thinking about both my fantasy and my sci-fi, and I'm just like, I will not have time to work on both because I also have other things that I need to be writing. But I'm like, I've got to. I feel like I need to carve out more time for them. I have to, because this is very motivating to do that. Esther, any final thoughts?
I think this is definitely a lecture to rewatch every so often. It's just there's so much practical information that you can, right after you watch it, you can just go ahead and open your manuscript and start implementing. It's, as of right now, it's the one that is the most the easiest one to implement on your own work from the get-go.
Yep. Agreed. All right, let's go ahead and do our outros. Thank you, everybody who came and watched this with us live. If you're watching this on the replay, hey, thanks for hanging out with us. We do go off on some tangents, so sorry. But if you like Brandon Sanderson, I think you're used to people going off on tangents and drifting in the conversation, and then we reel it back in. Don't worry, we bring it back. So, Chandra, you want to let everybody know where you're at, and then Esther, and then I will close us out.
Everyone, my name is Chandra Arthur. I am co-author of 1,000 Words to Get Started and 1,000 Words to Ignite Romance, and co-host of Flash Fiction Live, which is a monthly series where we write flash fiction and then swap our stories and read our first drafts live. Yeah, we'll have our schedule posted, announcing our next episode soon.
Yes.
Well, I'm Esther Maria Duhar. I am a Puerto Rican writer aspiring to be a hybrid career author. I write under the umbrella of fantasy, and I also write contemporary romance under a secret pen name. I do have a YouTube channel. I keep saying that I will remember to post, and let's just hope for the best at this point. I do stream on Friday evenings for productivity sprints, and at the end of the month, the last Friday, I do a monthly planning stream because we gotta try to keep things on plan. I don't know. So I'm very chaotic, as you can see. So it's a joyride. So joy every time I appear somewhere.
And
yeah.
Everybody's links below. Feel free to give everyone a follow. You can keep up with the things that we're doing in the writing community. I'm Nia the Vixen of Fiction all over the internet. I will be doing live streams. I do productivity sprints, and I'm also over on Twitch where I do productivity sprints. I potentially will be doing some vlogs, but they're going to be more like writer life vlogs, not just writing or that type of thing, because, well, I just don't do that. And I realize I'm not going to do that. So I got to figure out what my channel is. My channel is me, Nia, the Vixen of Fiction, and my dog Loki. Watch the Loki shorts. They're fun. So that's me. I write things. I write under NV James. So if you are into fantasy, sci-fi, the books I have out right now are short, um, contemporary fantasy romance. It's like romance with a little bit of magic. They're fun, short reads, palate cleansers for those of us who like our tragic sci-fis and fantasies. So you can follow me all over the place. You probably saw my dog hopping all around. We're gonna go now. Thank you so much. We will be back in 2 weeks. May, we're only gonna do one lesson, but we will be every other Monday taking Brandon Sanderson's class and doing a little study session and discussion after. So feel free to join us as often as you like. And we're going to say goodbye. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.